So then, why don't we stand and we'll start the meeting with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So, are there any changes to the agenda that anyone would like to request? No, so hearing none. The live district calendar. Nick, do you want to throw that up for us to take a quick look and see if there's anything we want to be alert to over the coming weeks?
So yeah, as we approach the holiday break, obviously not a lot going on other than not having a lot going on, at least in the schools. As you can see, there are a few things coming up this week, specific to the elementary schools. Do have a third grade concert at RMS. And then these three events for JGS are all like a Spirit Week type event for those for that school. That's, kind of the final week, bringing us into the next year.
All right.
And then we're gonna start getting into budget hearing on the 12th. We have our school board meeting on the 9th that's pushed off a week, just by not having that Monday due to the holiday. And then we also have our other board meeting just pushed back a week because again, there's another Monday holiday. So just push the two back instead of trying to move them later in the week. We have a poetry out loud competition, middle of January. We have a spelling bee tentatively for middle school on the 13th. JGS, we have an NHDAI residency on the 20th. And then following into the week. So that's kind of the major stuff at this point. So we do have a concert this week if anybody wants to attend.
So what's that on January 12th? What's going on then?
Budget hearing. For us.
The school district budget hearing. Okay, so that's the big event prior to the deliberative session, which follows the next month. So an opportunity on the 12th for anybody to come in and provide input or to learn about the budget and our decisions today and all that. Okay, well, thank you, Nick, for putting that up. And it's, I mean, some of these things are things I didn't even know were going on, that to be able to see when they're happening and have an opportunity to participate is pretty cool. Okay. So let's go on then to public comments.
Okay. So that's me again, getting the policy up. Don't have a large audience remotely. Obviously nobody in person we can see. So again, if you want to make a public comment, first name, last name, town of residence, abide by the policy on the screen. And if you're online, you can raise your hand by using the hand raise feature at the bottom of the screen, and then we can address you from there. While we are waiting, I was notified from our student rep that again, obviously she's not here, but has a basketball game tonight. So it seems like during basketball season, things might be a little bit more tricky in terms of actually making it to the school board meetings, because usually if there's not a game, there seems to be a practice.
Okay. So Nick, there's nobody at this point who's asked to comment. Okay, so there will be a second public comment opportunity at the towards the end of the meeting. And Ruben, that means you're up for the superintendent's report.
All right. Well, knowing that Amy wasn't going to be able to be here because she has a basketball game in Hopkinton, I believe, and the boys are playing right now in the next room over, basically, the Pratt. I think there was a very close JV game. The last time I saw it was tied, but I moved on over here and don't know how it ended actually. But so that's exciting. Our teams have started out 2-0, as far as I know, both of them. I don't think there's been another game. I think one of them may have been postponed or canceled. And so this will be the third game that they have, and hopefully that streak continues. Girls I know were in the paper because they beat Monadnock, who was of course the defending championship, defending champions, and that was a good game. I went to that one. Very nice game, civil, over at Monadnock. So good job to all. I wanted to give some information that I received from a teacher here, Morgan Baker. We've talked about the fact that Mr. Baker has Baking with Baker Club after school, very popular. A few individuals, and he also works in the next room over from here this way. And he entered his group into a bit of a competition over at Pinkerton Academy against some other teams who all have full culinary programs. And this is the email he sends. So yesterday would have been December 15th. So Thursday, this past Thursday. Yesterday, myself and 4 students, Ava Rollins, Riley Vitello, Sophia Springola, Amelia Hill, traveled to a cooking competition at Pinkerton Academy sponsored by the Army National Guard. They competed against 5 other teams, all from schools with full culinary programs, and they competed in 2 different competitions. The first competition required them to take MREs, meal ready to eat. I love that they are using acronyms, and because we use them all the time here, and turn them into high quality dishes for 3 judges. They were incredible. And while they did not win, unofficially they placed 3rd, which is amazing, especially considering the caliber of their competition. The second competition was focused on snacks. They had to create 100 of a snack. They chose chocolate chip cookie frosting sandwiches, which sounds absolutely horrible or fantastic, depending on what you think. That's like sugar. All the snacks were tasted and voted on by those in attendance, and Conant High School won. So we got those snacks. We like our sugar.
Sugar wins.
I don't know if I could do that. Eat that. They do sound wonderful. I will find a way to post some more photos for everyone to see. So hopefully he'll give those to us and we can post those, but we'll display the award plaque somewhere in the building. But they attached a photo of them. So it was a really nice picture that they had. So I think that's absolutely fantastic. So thank you, Morgan, for sharing that and making an impact on our learners here at the middle school and high school. So we had on this, that was the 15th, the 16th, you may have heard, we had a snow day. And so that, hey, I got several thank yous for people who said thank you as though I had actually planned the snow. I will say the snow here in Jaffrey and in Rindge and evidently Peterborough and Dublin, places like that got hammered. And so while the snow was perfect for constructing, which was some of the pictures that we had on WNUR, as well as people had given us some pictures of sculptures that they had done or hammocks that they had created with umbrellas and so forth. It was just neat to see some of it and just people really enjoying the day and using it for that purpose. So it was fantastic to see. I know that a lot of people also lost power, and it's a very difficult time frame for some of our families and certainly our staff and so forth who live in the outer areas. Over where I live, we had, I don't know, an inch of slush. I mean, yeah, it's boring. But I had come on in and experienced some of the snow on that day, so yeah, I can definitely see that it was worth not having our school that day. So our partnership with the Franklin Pierce University, the first semester has been completed. We're doing some surveying and some data collection right now on the partnership in general, the whole concept. So that's for the purpose of educational, adding to the education research that's out there on undergraduate and school partnerships, but also just getting some information on what we can do better. So I know that several teachers met with the chair or the head of the education department over at FPU, Dr. Jane Swanson, and some others, just to give some feedback and to talk. Overall, I hear it was a very good experience, so we're continuing on with, of course, that through this next semester in a little bit of a different way, getting people to mentor, to take student teachers. We did benefit just recently. Some of our teachers are might be going out on leave for really great things, but we were able to have some of our FPU student teachers are now working in the capacity to fill those roles. And so we're going to have these certified individuals coming right in. That's very helpful. I've taught in that grade level for half a year. Now they're going to, even though it may be a different school, they're going to be teaching that same area and have connections with with the other teachers that they work with to be able to help them if they need this. So it's great. There is a second memorandum of agreement that we're working on right now. I think we'll be able to bring it to the board for further conversation and hopefully signing off in January. This is about graduate level individuals. So we are piloting one. We do have one coming in January with applied for an internship. So it's an internship type of possibility. We've talked about this a little bit as a board beforehand. We're trying to make it come to fruition. We do have someone that's coming into this school with a degree in environmental science, comes highly recommended. She wants to go into education, take a master's degree program over at FPU. The benefit to us is, I think, some obvious benefits to us. Person be working 25 or more hours a week here. Working with some of our kids, perhaps in the extended learning opportunities, maybe doing some clubs, also doing some substituting in various settings, getting so that they get a good experience, but also giving to us. And financially, it's a good deal for us and for her as well. And because FPU and we are strong partners with one another, they get 20% off of their graduate tuition by working with us. So they get a small amount per hour here, and we do pay for their semester of, in this case, a semester of their housing or toward their housing. If it is above a certain amount, it will go toward them, and they get that as a scholarship over there. So that works out well. So we're trying that out, and I think that there's some promising things in the future there that will really benefit us, and of course the college as well. Leadership Academy 3, not to be confused with Police Academy 3. Love that. We're looking into whether we want to do another one or not. I met with Dr. Peggy Wozniak and Dr. Steve McGuy over at Keene State last week. I told them I wanted a few adjustments done. They're also doing some adjustments with their curriculum, which is actually great. What they explained to me. And I said I'd see what the interest is right now. So I do have about 12 people interested as of sending this out on Friday. So we'll see. I can grow a little bit. And so I'll answer some questions that people have, and we might go forward and have another one of those. That would be good. Again, everyone talking the same language and believe that they can add value to the community is important. Basketball. This actually has very little to do with basketball. It has more to do with communication and other types of activities. We have some individuals who are perhaps, well, they don't play basketball because they're the ones who are capturing it. So they are utilizing right now. Nick trained them on how to use the.
Was that live?
It's
Yeah, it's happening.
there you go. So
Guys.
we have this
There we go.
camera that is on the side. Oh, it's mounted. So it's mounted there. So if you see this,
Oh, look at the score.
the person who's recording is actually on the stage, and they're doing this kind of remotely. Where what is the score?
I know. what we-
36-44.
Yeah,
44 to 36. It looks like
We're 36.
we're 36. Yeah.
and this is the end of the third.
Come on, boys.
So So you can see this, what we want to see is them be able to go down the other end and see how the camera.
Well, and when you track it the other way, you'll see them on the stage.
There they go, Adam.
Yeah, we should
Yeah.
just keep this on to make sure
Yeah,
you can see that.
We've got to make sure that this works through to the end
We gotta make sure. it works.
and all the angles.
Well, while you're watching that,
Boy, I cannot.
they're
get the
improving our
clarity of this.
communication
Pretty good.
capacity and our learners are the ones who are doing this. And so they're involved in some other clubs and activities that are going on that this will translate to, but. So
There
there
goes.
we're in white. We have the ball currently and you can see it's tracking.
Nick, how
So-
did you get this? This clarity is incredible.
I mean, the thing is it can even be better than it is right now. They're
Wait,
using,
this is on the wall or somebody's
Yeah.
doing it?
so they're using the same equipment that we're using in here more or less. So they,
I mean, check that out. That's gorgeous.
That's amazing.
I'm so excited about
this
this.
camera right here,
Do you know how many grandparents are excited?
mounted on the wall. And that they have
Tracking device.
the same controller that I have.
That's amazing.
So they can operate it
Like a
through there, so
joystick.
so when I have one camera that's set up to view the whole board. And then like right now, the second camera that's moving is focused on John and Ruben, and I typically move it to whoever's talking. So it's the same technology. Right now, it's broadcasting in 720p, so like a low definition, high definition. If
like-
we were to down the line invest in a little bit more technology, we could get a even more full high definition picture. Part of the issue is that when we bought the technology during COVID, the box that essentially converts it into a webcam, they didn't have a high definition version of it at the time, and they've since created that. So we could invest in that technology, but they're streaming at the same quality that we are right now. And again, they have it's a group of I think
Oh,
3 students.
God. Sorry.
We have one here. We also have one at the RMS gym, also mounted on the wall. So we do play a couple games there, but this is that kind of the first step toward utilizing students using this equipment that we bought during COVID.
So what are the students exactly doing here? Are they literally behind the camera? 'Cause I
So
think I'm trying-
they're up on the stage. You can see them underneath the basketball hoop.
Okay.
And you have a
So-
student that's essentially sitting there doing what I'm doing with this,
The
and they're moving it
mascot.
back and forth.
He's got a swinging his legs. Yeah.
So they have a student up there that's operating the camera. There's another student up there that works to operate. We have a partnership. I forget the name of the company with it's a music and sound company. And it specifically allows us to play like more popular music, but selective and more cuts so that we're not obviously putting like profanity and things like that in, but then the kids are also getting like actual like music that they identify with. And, obviously your more popular things that you hear at a typical sporting event.
They might get like 20 or 30 seconds of one of their songs, but yeah, hey, it's clean.
But so this is just that next
Or
step.
plastic.
This was us trying to think ahead and pre-buying certain things technology wise so that we could start integrating. Because obviously, while we're using this for a basketball game, anything that's broadcast in that room, we could utilize that camera. So this is actually a good representation. This is broadcast via YouTube, so anybody can view it by going onto our YouTube channel. After the game is broadcast live, it catalogs automatically, so all the games are cataloged on our account. And then I think, like coaches would be able to review footage and say, okay, like see here, like you made this little mistake here, see that play, that
That's
was really
super cool.
good. So right now the plan is just to do the varsity boys and girls games, obviously home games, but if you start getting more learners involved and more of a crew, because right now it's only 3 kids. If you can get more of a crew, then you start being able to amplify what you do. So
And this exists over at RMS as well.
Yeah.
Except it doesn't need to be flipped.
I have to work with the person who installed it. We tried to run a broadcast. It was the first girls game, and we had an issue where the camera didn't auto flip over because technically it's mounted upside down in the wall. And you're obviously seeing this correctly. It was completely upside down, and there was some compatibility issues where they couldn't get it to move. So there is one more game in January, so I have to diagnose that, but it's the same ability and technology. And again, it's the same camera systems and everything. So if you have a kid that's familiar, a learner that's familiar with one of these bits, it translates, and that's why we have the equipment that can be built up into these bigger sets or broken down into smaller sets so that we have the mobility and things like that.
We also can utilize it for the deliberative session if we wanted to set it up
I mean, theoretically, we
in
could,
that way.
well, and
It's the opposite of how we've been setting it up, but.
what you could also do is you could get more of a sky view and just add an enhanced camera angle option. You know, right now I already operate, I think 2 or 3 cameras, but we could add that into the loop and it could just present a different view and variety.
So the big thing here is kudos to our, both our
That's
communication
awesome.
coordinator.
That's so cool.
For also having the foresight to get this thing mounted over there, and it wasn't as expensive as you would think. And to have, the willingness, I mean, I think they came to you to be trained, like, can we do this?
Oh.
And they're running the show, so we're not over there doing this. Nick does not have to be over there to make sure that this is happening.
Well,
Now, my big question is. How much viewership do they have right now? And how much do we have right now?
they have, it says on the bottom, they have 21 watching
Okay.
live and we have 1 person.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
So we have,
Check out the
so we have
YouTube
to
channel.
set some goals. To try to,
Like somebody steal or.
narrow the gap there, I think, which goes into my last paragraph about narrowing the gap. The elementary teachers and administration have thanked the board for giving them those half days. They've been spending time on a lot of the work that the high school, middle school has been doing and has been working on not only the academics, the clarification of curriculum, working on some report card work as well, and efficiency-based scales. Also, both schools have really this year worked hard, and it's at times been very difficult. We've had these discussions, you know, as part of our budget conversations as well, to change up some of the behavior plans, programs, and so forth that are in the schools. I've been able to witness some of the behind the scenes data collection that now is taking place that had not been really, the systems had not been in place before. So that's good. Of course, we started with the responsive classroom. I would say, you know, about 40% of the individuals are trained. There's going to be another training that we'll have that's scheduled hopefully for the end of June to get the other, get the majority of individuals fully trained. These are like 4-day trainings. It's not just this quick snapshot. And so to continue on with that tier 1 growth, and then of course the data is really largely used for your tier 2 and your tier 3 supports, but it also it can be used for your school-wide to make a school-wide adjustments and so forth. How can we do better if we're finding that there are behavior situations continuously in the cafeteria during this period of the day? What's going on? What could we do differently? That sort of thing. So it gives us some information to talk about. So that's the last thing I wanted to put. I thank you for putting the basketball up there because I think that's a great picture. I couldn't have.
I mean, I forgot that it was happening. So
Yeah.
as soon as you said it, I was like, I'm gonna put this up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
Perfect.
so a lot happening at the same time.
Nick, is there an audio feed that accompanies those games?
currently, no. And there's a few reasons behind that, just because obviously you don't have somebody monitoring for, you know, like if language is used in the crowds or something like that. A little bit more training on the part of the, you know, people running it, just to make sure like, hey, you're not like talking to the person next to you while it's going and you're saying something you shouldn't have said. And then the third piece is doing some research, because while we have this license in partnership to play music in the stadium, I don't know if that translates to rights online in a live stream application. So if they're playing music and it gets flagged,
YouTube,
that
yeah.
could affect our channel. It could get it shut down. Certain music is more okay, like
Right.
we have a performance of Jingle Bell Rock up on our YouTube page. It was 6th graders on bucket drums. So if you want to look at that, feel free to go.
That was
Technically, we don't have the copyright rights to use that song, but it's a song that we have rights to use through YouTube. Like, it's not flagging our account or affecting it. So
Okay.
in those applications, we have more knowledge to say, okay, this is not necessarily okay, but it's okay, versus having the unpredictability of not knowing what songs are playing and if we have rights. So
Good, thank you. That all makes sense. And what is this we're looking at here up on the screen?
Sorry, say that again?
That's just a summary of the superintendent's report, so you can go back and read that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I,
Okay,
I put that there just so I could hit my topics that I wanted to talk about.
gotcha.
I guess one thing I wanted
Will
to add.
that be linked to the,
It's linked. right.
it's linked now? Okay. Good. It's gonna
One thing to
refresh.
add to the food competition. We do have photos. We're gonna circulate those tomorrow. The plaque did arrive this morning. We have a photo of that as well. And then I guess also something else that we're gonna put out there is one of our students was interviewed for a video that they did as a part of this project. So that will also circulate out, but we had a student that was interviewed as a part of this whole process. So good promotion for the learners, and we'll get all that out so people can see it.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Ruben? Oh, well, Ruben, thank you for your report.
A lot of good news.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that you could see the basketball game. I know some of you were.
It worked.
interested in it.
That was
That
nice, and the
works.
clarity is
No, it
very impressive.
No, thank you, Nick, for putting that up. I actually didn't even think about that, but that was.
Um. Okay, I guess we're ready for the consent agenda. Are there any changes to the consent agenda? Let's see, I know we've got meeting minutes for December 5th. Was everybody here? Okay, would you like us to pull the December 5th minutes? Yes, I would. Okay, so we'll pull the December 5th minutes.
And we did not have a non-public. on December 5th.
Right. Okay, so then if we have a motion for the consent agenda as modified,
I'd like to make a motion to accept the consent agenda as modified.
I'll
thank you,
second.
Christine. Thank you, Lisa. Okay, and all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that passes 6-0. Great, thank you. And now, how about a motion to approve the minutes for December 5th?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the December 5th board meeting.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Christine.
I
second the motion.
Okay, thank you, Daisy. If there are no questions, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Aye. Okay, so that passes 5-1. Great,
That's your.
and then we're on to a discussion regarding remote learning days.
Oh, the time.
Yes. So, brought to my attention that. Board has determined what it wants to do for. Remote learning. No, and I have not brought it to you. So I'm. I mean. Even when we had the remote learning, we had. Pretty much made sure that the first day was a snow day, and we had, well, again, the snow couldn't have been any better. For a snow day than that. But in this area anyway. So I asked Nick to find our old inclement weather. Concept. And so there are some things to think about. So I don't think we need to make a decision today. Because if we have a snow day this week. We're gonna call it a snow day. I don't believe what was going to take place on Friday last week appears to be now 50 degrees and getting a ton of rain, so I don't think it's gonna
We
take.
no longer get a white Christmas.
And it looks like Christmas. Yes, might be green and brown, so. However. There could be some value in giving the opportunity to do some remote learning. As we move on into the 2023, if depending on how this winter goes. Certainly. The middle school, high school is a little more set up to do that fairly easily, because of everything being put into Otis on a regular basis. And so, they were actually prepared to go remote this past time. I just emailed David and said, you know, we're not going to. And so he put that out there, but they have some discussions. I think one thing that they want to discuss more probably is how much synchronous learning and how much asynchronous learning takes place, meaning how much face-to-face and how much on their own is happening. So that needs to be kind of worked out a little bit more, which is partly why I don't want to have a decision necessarily today unless you want to move forward that way. I do think that number two, if we do any remote days, we called them interim remote days during COVID because we had those 2-hour delays. I think everyone needs the 2 hours, regardless of who they are. If there's actually weather, then it's finding it's shoveling off your car if you're coming in here, because a lot of individuals did come in here to get the Wi-Fi signal that they needed, but they need to make sure that they're all set. Obviously, parents and kids need to get up and, you know, have that little bit of time to enjoy the morning a little bit. There's a lot of reasons. And then pre-K and K, you know, I talked with a kindergarten teacher today. I would say, I mean, for multiple reasons, and perhaps the best one, just let's not put our pre-K and K kids in front of a computer during the day on a snow day. I do think that we could probably give them some puzzles and books and things like that to bring home. I'm not sure that would count as a snow day, but they also legally don't need to have the same number of hours as everyone else. And so giving them the flexibility, elementary learners are not accustomed to bringing Chromebooks home. So I think that we could start to look at what we want to do for first through fifth. And what would be best, and it's probably a combo of taking some things home and some work as along with some things that in a Google Classroom or an Otis. I wouldn't say that they're ready for the Otis element yet, but doing that is certainly not a bad idea to keep this type of learning at the forefront, because I do think that there's value to it. And yeah, just saying it's a snow day for pre-K and kindergarten regardless. Is the idea there. I think on another note, just the fact that a lot of our younger learners have difficulty attending even in person sometimes, doing it and expecting families to have to try to work so hard with their child to stay focused on this during that day is probably not as positive as we would think that it could be. And so wanting to make sure that we're also helping families during these time frames as opposed to causing significant distress or any distress for that matter. So I do support taking this time, I mean, to go forward and have the opportunity to do some remote days. But of course, you can say, no, we don't want to do any. Yes, you know, give the superintendent the ability, or after a certain number of days, you know, make them remote. There's a lot of different ways you can go about doing things. You can say we can adopt the language we had in our prior COVID, you know, protocols, or we could adjust that.
Is it a percentage of participation? Because what about kids who don't have internet at home?
Well,
Or if it's out, do
yeah, that's the benefit of looking at things asynchronously. So the work is assigned, the teachers would have to be available. They might be in there in the chat as well at times, but doing some work. And so if someone doesn't get it done, the next day they'll have access to it, so they can
Right.
get caught up on it. So there's an expectation that it gets done.
Mhm.
If you're doing it synchronously, yeah, your meeting times, even teachers could have, depending where they live,
Mhm.
could have signal issues. So that's, but we did before have language in it that we would do the face to face, because there is value in that too.
And I was really struck with this particular storm, which we had a lot of notice for.
I was really struck by the sheer amount of power outages so fast. Like the wind, before hardly any snow was on the ground, the wind took down lines everywhere. And that was like, it's not just kids that are affected, teachers are affected by that.
We had several staff members lose power for
With
quite a
that.
while.
And it was out for a while. Then it's like, you know, these storms. You know, the only thing fun about them is watching kids make things. That's the only thing. They're just stressed. They're just stressed. They're cold, they're stressful. I'm not sure the benefit of having any elementary remote expectation, other than try to read a book. You know, I don't see that. I don't see that. For the high school, I would say, or in the middle school, we already do asynchronous learning with our progressions, where here is the number of assignments you have, and here's where you're going with this. And all the students have the option of doing extra work and catching up, or doing stuff that they haven't done, or redoing something that they didn't do as well as they want to do on it. So that's already built in anyway. I don't know.
You do have to have more hours at the secondary level than you do have to have them at the elementary level. So you could make a split decision and say, we're gonna do something different for secondary as we do for elementary if you wanted to.
That would be brutal in a household. Yes, in the middle school, high school, and kids in the grade school.
Yep.
That would,
Sure.
Do we have any snow days built into the calendar prior to the proposed last day? Like, do we automatically count
The last day is the last day. We put in to the calendar that.
the snow days
you
after?
could- Yes, so it's
Okay.
not like we go to the end and say, we're getting out the 21st, but if we don't have snow days, we're getting out sooner. We're saying, here's the last day, and here are the next 5 days, just in case of inclement weather. Yeah.
I was thinking more in terms of if the last day is Friday, June 9th. Okay, we just had one snow day. So are there days built into the calendar to say, okay, we've had one snow day, so are we automatically bumped to our last day being the 12th? Or
So as of right now, we would be going to the 12th.
Okay.
You, as a board, can decide whether that's something that you want to support. We usually make the decision. And the board makes a decision later in the game when they see what's
If
happening.
there's more, yeah,
Yeah.
there's more snow days.
because I want to
come.
say we made that decision mid to late April
Yes,
last year.
I also feel like the last year you did some, I don't remember, but did you do somewhere it was like, like this past storm, you knew it was coming, it was heavy duty, it was a harsh storm and you gave a snow day. Whereas if it was like, travel's not gonna be great, but probably won't be a terrible storm, we're doing a remote day. But if you know that something terrible is coming and you wake
Yeah.
up and it's truly there, not like the
Yeah,
New
there's-
England thing that we
yeah,
usually
we
get, I
try
think
to
that's
be,
something that
we
can
try to
be,
be judicious.
yeah,
Judicious,
yeah,
if we can ahead of time, 'cause you never
Right.
know for certain.
You don't, but I mean, we live on back roads, so there's days where most people, yeah, if you have a truck, you can move this, but a school bus is not to do it, and so. You know, does seem reasonable for a remote day.
yeah.
But you're right, but we want it to be prepped. I do agree with that. A remote day should never be a last minute call. You know, that should be 24 hours, 48 hours. Yeah, if we have a snow day this day, it will be a remote day, teachers prepare, kind of thing.
Well, and especially on that fact, especially for the elementaries who, like it said in the thing, they don't bring their Chromebooks home anymore, so it's not a regular thing that I can guarantee a lot of those kids don't think about how they're swinging their backpacks around on the ride home
Mhm.
because there's nothing in it, and then you automatically, here's a Chromebook.
Would it be contractually difficult to say to the elementary teachers, you do not have to prepare a remote day? But the middle high school teachers do have to be online and be part of our one thing.
So I think we'd have to. It's a great question. I think I'd have to talk to the association about that and what the ramifications would be. I think. You know, you might be able to have teachers still work on that day. As we do actually during those days allow for instance, the hourly people to work and do some things online and so forth. So you can actually do that. There would have to be some conversation about that for certain. Obviously, we've done it because of kindergarten and preschool, and those teachers are doing all the planning and stuff anyway during that time frame. They always use more. And we do some different things with the schedule, even the calendar is different for the elementary. But we do that also because their days are very different. And so to give them, trying to be more equitable by giving them some extra planning time and concentrated time, because they also have two schools that don't get together as often, whereas this place is everyone's here all the time.
Charlie?
Yeah, a couple things. I would like to, I haven't looked into it.
Mhm.
But I'd like to know more about what the legislature allows and does not allow relative to remote learning. Because after COVID, they made a bunch of changes. Okay. The other thing is, one of the reasons we looked into remote snow days was because of the amount of time students were in class in the summer, in June, and the impact that it had on graduation. Because families were making plans for graduation, relatives coming across country for graduation, but we couldn't set the graduation day because we didn't know when we'd have the number of days, including snow days at the end.
Yeah.
So,
We were able to pinpoint graduation once we started to control it a little bit.
Oh, right.
so there are other issues that we need to look at. But I guess where I'm starting is I want to know what we can legally do, not legally do. And then based on that, I think that this was a good compromise because it allowed us to keep track of whether or not we needed a remote day. And the superintendent could make that decision. So that's kind of where I'm at.
I felt like it was handled very well last year, that there were no days that were called as remote days where I thought, oh, this should have been a snow day. I mean, it didn't happen once, you really
No,
nailed it
I
last
think we
year.
only had one snow day last year though, too. We had like nothing.
Yeah, I think we-
Yeah, there wasn't, you're right.
The weather made it easy on.
Got off the
Yeah.
Yeah.
The storms mostly fell on weekends.
Yeah, what I know.
And the grade school for the, for the remote days, of course, they were more accustomed to remote days last year. But I felt like the schedule was, at least the schedules that I saw were very respectful of the kids' need to check in with their teacher, turn their computer off, get their work done, maybe check in at the end of the day, but also go outside and play.
Yep.
Yeah, so I feel like that was handled very well last year as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't constantly in front of the
Yep.
computer.
And it also, I mean, at times too, it even rewarded some of the kids, they were already on fours and they've done this and they've done that and.
Yeah.
They're like, I did all that. They got to go outside more.
And I like the discussion. Thank you, everybody, for the input. And hopefully we still have some discretion as a school district that the legislature hasn't inserted itself excessively. And perhaps even our attorneys will have some input on that.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain that for the purpose of, I mean, they have the blizzard bags, all that kind of stuff. I think that's permitted as long as the boards, make it known and people are aware of that. It's not permitted, as I understand it, to be just used as an alternative.
Right.
It looks like the legislative rule only applies to COVID remote learning, not to any kind of weather. It is specific to COVID. Going remote or hybrid due to COVID. It was last February.
So does that mean that there isn't anything for it, or like it's
Means
to our
We are
discretion?
not allowed to go remote or go hybrid due to COVID. We are not allowed to do that. So it has nothing to do with weather. We can do whatever we want for weather.
If we had, so if we had like
Gotcha.
a COVID outbreak or something like that, and we're like, oh, you can close your school down,
Oh,
and make that up. Or if it was gonna be for a period of time, you can ask the state for an exception
okay,
for a period. of time.
gotcha. Other than that, we can use it.
Right, if we had flooding or a roof collapse or something and
Yeah.
needed to go remote, that would not be an issue whatsoever.
Okay. Oh, that's good.
Okay. So it sounds like, this is something we'd like to consider, get a little more information about our options and
Yep, so we'll get some
bring it
information
back
back
ready
and
to,
talk about
Well,
early
I would
June.
just as soon say if permissible. Under the statutes, you authorize a superintendent to determine when to have remote days and when to have snow days. And that's what we're here to talk about, so.
I would second that motion.
Nick, did you get that?
yeah,
I think it's, yeah, I mean, it doesn't say we can't do it. It works really well for our district. The students appreciate it, I think.
so is that a motion on your part?
Yes, that's a motion.
It's
And
a
we have a
second here too.
Okay. Is there any discussion about that?
Can you repeat the full motion? I actually didn't hear. What was the motion?
The motion was
To
to,
authorize a superintendent to have remote days during inclement weather.
providing he's got the authority.
Providing statutes permit, yes.
And does that mean remote days for all studies or like
The first time he said it, he
the
said both.
judgment, like upon the superintendent's judgment of whether it should be a full snow day or remote day? Doesn't mean every day off because of weather.
He can decide he wants,
Right.
you
So
know, third grade to have a
superintendents-
snow day and
Perfect.
12th grade to
Okay.
go remote.
It'd be the
He
number
did say
one.
that, the first one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, good. Just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Okay, we okay with the motion?
And we're fine with the interpretation of a snow day being an interim remote day.
Yeah, with the 2 hour delay.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just wanna,
I mean, it's the same, yes,
we need to not just say snow days, we need to say inclement days because. We've had flooding days, we've had,
Yeah.
and who knows what else we're gonna have, and chances are it'll be other weather other than snow that will keep us away from these buildings, so.
Potentially,
Yeah.
for sure.
we had a little bit of a
Yeah.
pipe issue last Friday.
Right.
Under control,
A little bit more.
a little bit of a flooding issue. Yeah.
During the snow day?
Mhm.
It all worked out.
Yep, it's all good, we're all fine now.
Well, if it had to pick a day to happen, that's kind
Yeah,
of the
it
best
wasn't
time.
to a burst pipe, which is good, so that would have been worse. This one was fixable.
Perfect.
Check valve.
They've removed the possibility of that taking place again without some serious effort.
Okay, good. Excellent.
All right, great. Hey, now I can talk to the newspaper who's asking me about this question.
We haven't voted yet.
We didn't
So,
vote.
no, we didn't vote yet. So all those in favor of the motion made by Charlie and seconded by Kim?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Now,
6-0.
It has been determined. I like that.
The school board said, yeah, sure.
Do we have board committee updates? Anybody have a board update that they would like to offer?
Next education meeting is coming up. I don't think we met the last one. It's kind of foggy with meetings, but
We had an education committee
Just kidding.
on December 8th. Um. We. Got a presentation from. One of the co-teaching. Units, and. How they. Have taken on Jaffrey history, and it's. Been a very student-led class, and they. Started with Jaffrey history, and then the students just kind of took it and ran with it. And they. Went to. The rail trail and looked at numerous different sites along the trail. Got information, and they are working on creating a. Forest map of Jaffrey. And they went to the Historical Society and learned all about different stuff there, and they. In amongst their browsing around, multiple kids were. That's my family, that's my family, that's my family. And so they were able to actually put connections to the town. And the Historical Society gave lifetime memberships to the students in those classes.
what grade was this or what class or teacher or whatever?
Kathy Pendergrass. and-
Elementary?
No, this is secondary, high school.
Oh, okay.
Kathy Pendergrass and John Duggan, worked together
Oh, oh.
in the access program.
Yeah, yeah.
And
okay.
so, working with, so a special educator coupled with a regular educator
Yeah.
certified in that subject area.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so they were, had a lot of good things to say.
Yeah.
I think.
Cool.
And they also. The students were allowed to use their cell phones on the walk, and they were tracking. The elevations and the mileage that they were walking, so that they were. In real time, seeing the travel that they were doing. And so it gave these students a whole different spin on what they can do with their cell phones. That's not just texting and email and social media. There's actual things you can do on a cell phone that are productive.
Nice.
And then. There's a lot about assessments, and the PLCs are growing because of doing the assessments and seeing where they need to move.
While you're looking at that, I think the key element of the assessment report was. May have mentioned it on that Saturday, that the data showed that the spring results. And the fall results showed no dip. From spring to fall, which.
Is a positive.
Is a positive,
Pretty
and
good.
actually
They-
saw with a few weeks of learning, actually there were some gains.
They were either the same or higher in the fall with only, I think he said 3 weeks of teaching. That they either were the exact same or were higher.
And what we believe that means is that there's some. The learning has staying power. Basically, is one way of saying it, basically that the learning occurred and then was maintained. As opposed to the literature out there on the summer slide. Years ago, we had Mahesh Sharma come here and tell us, I think he may have presented to to the board at one point in time. His belief in that there is no such thing on a wide scale basis anyway of a slide, because if you've actually learned, there is no dip like that. You can have some recall, you gotta get some extra support here and there, but it shouldn't be this big slide, because if you've learned it, then you've learned it. There's a difference between learning it and then actually, the other idea of maybe students have presented that they understand for a period of time on a task, how grading has been done in the past, so.
Well, I think that's huge too, with like the teaching styles and everything, where like so much of it was learn it, cram it in there, throw it up on a test, and then
Learn,
forget it.
cram, and so
Yeah.
with it going away from
Instead
that
of-
approach, there appears, this is one
Yeah.
data set, right?
Yeah, but I think that, over time, I could definitely, I agree with that, for sure, that these kids, they're actually learning it, and it's there because they've gotten to the fore, like they've proven they're proficient at it. They're not just given it to regurgitate it.
Mhm.
Which is super important.
So that was the point of that data.
I like it.
John,
It's good data.
Nick has a.
Yes, Nick,
And for anybody who's interested in seeing those slides and statistics, the education committee meeting is up on YouTube. And I always attach whatever slideshows are used in those in the description. So you can have the co-teaching slideshow, this data slideshow that we've been talking about, and then obviously you can hear the whole meeting and follow along that way. So if anybody's interested in getting more of a dive on that, then you can do that.
and people access this, Nick, by going into the committee section of the board.
So for this in particular, you would go to the broadcast, SAU broadcast. We have all our, I have a
Okay.
couple that I have backlogged that I'm working on getting up now. Not obviously now, but in the coming weeks. But this one in particular, like I said, is up. And then if you scroll down on any education committee video, they're right here, and you can just click on them. They're Google Drive links, PDFs, and you can just, go through and view everything.
So
Thank you,
people would go to SAU broadcasts.
Yep.
And there they would find that.
Yeah, and I'm working on how best to retool those committee pages on our website. Just making sure that we're getting the most accurate and best information up there on the committees, so.
Good, thank you, Nick, for that. That update. And Daisy, thank you for that report.
That was a packed meeting.
It was.
I missed some of it. It was
I think it was
very dense.
only maybe an hour long meeting, but it was. A lot happened in a very quick amount of time.
57 minutes.
Nice. Are there any other committees that have met or have a report?
Well, it may not surprise you to know that the finance committee met. 'Tis the season, and we miss Charlie and Charlie's leadership at the meeting, so I'm gonna try to do the report based on my notes that I haven't typed up yet. So the main focus was that we got an update from Carrie on what we need for the warrants that will appear on the ballot. That's the correct word. So in addition to the budget, we will have a building maintenance trust fund warrant, and that is for, I believe we've settled on $400,000. A special education trust fund, and that will come from any reserved, what is the word? I'm looking for?
Unexpended reserve.
Yes, from June 30th, so that will not have a tax impact. And the JRSSA contract, those will be the big warrant articles this year. And what else did we discuss? We spent a lot of time discussing how it is to present this information to the public so that they understand that these aren't just numbers, but that the numbers represent goals and objectives for our learners and ways to keep the buildings safe. And we got slightly funded, partially funded the SAFE grant for the grade schools, but not entirely funded. I believe John Leclerc said today that it was a 40% funding for Jaffrey Grade School. And a slightly higher percent funded for RMS. So those grants will provide us with some monitors and I actually think we'll primarily be spending that money for the grade schools just on monitors because it isn't that much money.
I think it has more to do with the doors and the locks and things of that nature. They weren't going to be allowing us to spend that money on cameras.
Okay.
And they also did not include the sound system of the school, which is of course needed. So we're gonna go ahead and figure out how to do that anyway. Because that's probably was the most important thing to do and get and rectify. To make sure everyone can hear announcements properly. So over time, that's been lessened.
And the fact that Jaffrey Grade School, you know, to talk to someone, you knock on the window. And we,
Oh, from the outside, yeah.
yeah, we really need to work on that. Security of that school up a little bit.
Thank you, Christine.
Just the meeting.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah,
And that's
so
Christine.
all four schools did get some funding, which is nice.
Yeah,
So kudos to several people who got all the information, applied and got some of it, and so that's good, so.
who are the main people who were involved in that effort?
Well, I John, John and Trey and certainly police chiefs from both towns, fire chiefs from. Well, no, they had to sign off for both towns. We had specific face-to-face meetings with Jaffrey. PD and fire together, but they had to write letters and sign off on everything, an agreement with all, so the two towns had to work together in some capacity, even if not face to face. So I would say really those individuals from the community and the facilities committee. I mean, I was part of it as well, but that was just making sure, because I have the one who had to sign off on it, so.
Is this something? If we got 40% of what we were hoping to get, or 40% of what we requested by putting together the proposal, is this something that we should go to the townspeople with a warrant article and say, help us fund this remaining 60%, we got 40% in this grant. This is what, you know, this is a safety. Yeah, this is for specific safety needs. Seems to me the townspeople would look at that and see, oh, well, the state is putting in this much money, yeah, we could put in this much money. And that seems like it's a worthwhile warrant article to me.
Something to discuss on the 12th.
I think the difference is about $140,000 if I have that correct. We were funded 260 and we requested 400. That is, do those numbers sound right?
For the 12th, would you mind talking to Carrie and just seeing if she can put together a little, it seems to me like that's worth putting together, as I think the town should see that, like, we went through this work, we got this much of it, we didn't get the whole thing. You know, this is what we wanted to go for. Oh, that's,
Well, let me just give a brief update on the facilities committee report today, because I think it's relevant. We spent a lot of our time talking about our communications strategy, and I think there's, a lot of reason out there, feedback that we're getting to be concerned that the community may, look at our budget and our warrants and have some concern about the cost. And we think that what we're proposing is important, but we recognize that we have work to do to explain to people why and how their money is being used and what the need is, but also the benefit. And we did discuss a number of things in facilities today, but we had a particular focus on a document that John put together. I'm sure he had help from Trey and others. A 12-page document summarizing the accomplishments over the past 3 years, including this current year. For 2021, there are 4 pages of improvements that were made and problems that were tackled relating to preparing the school for confronting the COVID crisis. And for 21-22, the paving project, floods, the mold, so the responding to emergencies, but at the same time, improvements to the district. The paving over at RMS that really has changed that facility. The creation of an entrance sign, or installation of an entrance sign, sewage backup. And the same thing, I won't go through all the details, but the same thing for 2022, 2023, our current year. All the different things that have been done, some of them based on a warrant article, some of them just based on responding to emergencies. And in addition, John's last page, he's got about 18 items that are future projects, things that we've been talking about. Some of them are manageable, small enough, others are pretty large, like replacing the floor in the JGS gymnasium, which is basically unusable at this point, and which makes the cafeteria unusable, I understand, and there's people running,
Loud.
makes it loud. Also the parking lot at JGS, where we've had sinkholes in the past and where we understand that there's certainly the opportunity, the dangers that we could have another. So that's a major project. It's unfortunately going to be a little bit more expensive than the work that was done in the RMS parking lot or this parking lot, because it does involve a substrata that's unstable. So what we want to do, and this does relate back to the education committee too, on a multi-level, we want to talk about everything that's going on that people should be feeling good about. This question of the lack of a summer slide, that's a little bit technical for people, but most parents, I think, can understand that efforts are being made to try to help their kids retain learning, and that some significant changes have been made in our curriculum, in our structure, our block schedule, and in the implementing of the strategic design. And these are benefits that we're bringing to our students. And the same thing is happening on the level of our activities. The new clubs that have been created, and I know, Kim, you mentioned earlier, the rec department is struggling with how popular the teams, the sports have become. And it's true, it's something we need to talk about, but the benefit is we have so many kids that are being included in clubs and teams that in the past weren't included. So we want to make sure our community knows about these things. And as a side topic, this whole issue of, it's not a side topic, but an additional piece is facilities. We have 4 buildings, even though 2 of them are now joined at the hip through that tunnel. We have 4 buildings and 3 or 4 major fields as well, that also are an expense, but also a real benefit, a real asset to the students, but also the communities. And so there is a heavy lift, we think, because we know people are suffering through inflation. We have a lot of our families are, you know, some of them are just starting out or in their first 10 years of home ownership, and tax impacts are very important. And so we are starting out ready to, and we spend a lot of time talking about this. And including afterwards, Nick and I talked about getting a communications plan going, and we plan to meet with Ruben tomorrow, hopefully, so that we have ourselves ready to go, because we have a vote, much more important than a deliberative session, because there'll be thousands of people. Typically over 1,000 from each community will vote, whereas at our deliberative sessions, we're lucky to get 50 or 100. So we know we've got work to do to get the word out, and we're beginning on that. And John's work with this is a great start, excellent job. But we need to do the same for our activities and sports, and we need to do the same for our educational accomplishments.
Can I respond? Just to go back to,
Please.
I understand very, very much that we want to be as fiscally conservative and transparent and really communicate. And that the finance committee and budget committee should spend so much time fine tooth combing everything. The policy committee spent a very long time looking over legislative changes and recommendations after the Uvalde shooting. And how do we fine tooth comb and try to protect? And all we're doing is words. The money that was sought for with the state puts this into action. That we did not get the full funding to do the minimum that we really wanted to get done is disconcerting. But I think that the townspeople need to know that we fought for that and what we were trying to fight for, and give them an opportunity to say, yeah, we'll put money towards this. I think the school safety would actually only do good to have on the ballot, to say we are taking this seriously. We are doing everything we can on our end. Here's what we want. Here's what we need to continue this fight. I guess I think that it could only do good, even though we're asking for more money. I think putting it on there shows we are really being diligent and what we're trying to accomplish to keep the kids safe. So that's in part of the recommend. It's not just the money. Again, it's $100,000. That's not huge. I just think that this actually would be good on the ballot. I think that'd be a good idea to put this forward to people, but maybe I'm wrong. I could well be. I just need to.
Thank you, Lisa.
I don't think John Leclerc would ever turn away any money.
And we don't want to
The concern with this is that the SAFE grant did not fund, you were not allowed to apply the money towards exterior doors and windows. And those are things that also need to be replaced. So once you start saying, let's put on the warrant, we need to make our schools safe, then, what are we going to put in that? Not saying we shouldn't put it in, but it would be more than what was cut out of the grant.
And I wasn't thinking of trying to put off the idea of saying that we should keep it out of 12. It's just that, and I think that this kind of discussion is certainly appropriate for now or any time in this month. Although this isn't technically a budget discussion time, and we have a time frame for it. But coming up on the 12th, we have to decide what we're going to talk about, and I think there's an opportunity, but also really we need to do some work um, to collect information from people. And this is certainly information that's part of that. But, you know, we also need to, I think between now and then, we should have meetings with certain groups in the community. Try and get people who, try and make sure that people are informed. It's not our job to do electioneering or to try and convince people that they should spend money. But we do have a job of education to do, to let them know the kind of thing that you're talking about and all of the other things that relate to our buildings, to our educational process, and to our extracurriculars, because they support our students too.
Yeah, I mean, the definition, actually, the formal definition of a school of high achieving schools has three components to it, and take it for what you want. It's just interesting. It's high standardized assessment results. It's broad and you know, significant opportunities for kids after school, and then eventually, you know, when that happens, you end up having your students, doesn't necessarily be all of them, but your learners are accepted to high, but you know, high profile schools. So when that happens, you get into a situation where you're considered by definition that's out there. It's a pretty narrow definition of a high achieving school. We typically see that in very affluent communities. So if I were to use an example in the state of New Hampshire, Bedford would be they have 150 offerings after school, in some fashion or another. Their assessment results are typically up there as well. They're standardized. They're an international baccalaureate school, so they're, you know, sending their kids to a variety of places. So that's not necessarily what we're striving for, but there are components of that definition that we certainly know will benefit our kids. Couple other things that are certainly can be board matter is that I met with John Frederick this past week. Jaffrey's 250th anniversary is coming up. They have a summer kind of celebration that they're going to be bringing into the community. With that, bring some opportunities for our learners to do some fundraising as well during this time frame. I guess there's going to be quite a I don't know if you call it a finale or an event plan during that time frame. They asked if they could utilize some of our property for their shows and things. I have given them the initial go ahead because they do not have a lot of places that they can do what they want. With the caveat that we discussed parking a little bit. We don't want our property damaged. So that was the thing, but it could be very positive for the school and a way for us to show some support to the community. There might be a concert of sorts. I don't know. I don't have all the details. Possible, you know, fireworks or other types of displays that go on as well during this time frame. I do know that they're expecting thousands of people. So whether it's all people from this community or people coming from other locations as well. So high traffic. That's August. Mid-August. I think it's the 19th. I'd have to look at my
So it's
notes.
like a pretty close replacement to firework day, whatever that was called. Jaffrey Jamboree or whatever.
Whatever it was. Yeah, it's in August. It's an August date.
All right, thank you for that update. And I gotta watch myself. I was gonna make some kind of joke about depending on the passage of the budget, but that was only a
Yeah.
joke, so I don't.
Yeah, we're trying. I know.
So Well, great. No, thank you for that, that update too, Ruben. And I think those kind of meetings actually are very important, very valuable, because, you know, the towns, and this goes for both towns, they have legitimate concerns and we want to hear them. But at the same time, we'd like them to, you know, join the conversation where they hear our concerns. And so, you know, we can work together with them. So we're gonna be trying to initiate some of those things, not just wait to see if they happen. But, yeah. Good. Under board matters, there's one thing I wanted to mention, and that is that, board member Paul O'Malley has moved from the district. And therefore is no longer, on the board because he's moved out. And we're gonna miss him. Paul was a great contributor. And went out of his way to contribute, you know, with his work schedule. I personally had a chance to work with him on the facilities committee and to participate in finance committee meetings, at least as an observer, while Paul worked on that. He was always there, well prepared and a real contributor. He's not only gonna be missed by us, but where in his new home, I'm sure he'll get back involved. So thank you, Paul. All right, are there any other board matters or, oh, sorry, did we pass over public comments? We have to do public comments too.
I'll put the policy back on the screen. Again, first name, last name, town of residence, use the button at the bottom of the screen to raise your hand and we can allow you to make that comment. All right, I'm not seeing anything.
Okay. All right, well, thank you, Nick, for opening up the opportunity. So now we can go back to if there are other board matters or future items that anybody has. And seeing none, then I think we need one more motion for the evening.
Make a motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn.
I second the motion.
Very appropriate. Thank you. Ken. Thank you. All right, all in favor? All right. Good. Thank you.